In cinema's 130-year history, there has seldom been a character as captivating, gripping, and just downright unsettling as There Will Be Blood's Daniel Plainview. Paul Thomas Anderson's modern classic follows the tale of ruthless oil prospector Daniel Plainview. A man driven by insatiable ambition, he claws his way through the unforgiving landscapes of early 20th century America, sacrificing morals and humanity in his relentless pursuit of wealth and power. What is there to be said that hasn't already about the performance of a lifetime delivered by Sir Daniel Day-Lewis? Mr. Lewis brings about a figure that is addictive to watch and impossible to wash off. True to his practices of method acting, Day-Lewis pulled this character from the pages of Paul Thomas Anderson and allowed him to walk among us. This isn't as much of a performance as it is an embodiment. But don't take my word for it, take theirs.
There Will Be Blood is my favorite P.T. Anderson film, and Daniel Plainview, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, is a character that I still can't wash off. There's not enough soap to wash off the memory of that character.
I see the worst in people, Henry.
Yeah, it's the fucking greatest movie ever. There Will Be Blood is the one.
That character.
I can't keep doing this on my own.
Somebody who's you could never reach to the end of his wealth. He just sags under the weight of everything that he accumulates.
Brother Daniel, it's Eli.
The great thing with Daniel, especially in that film, is that it's intense, but it's also really fun. It's mischievous fun.
I'd be happy to work with
It
you.
was a great part for that kind of devilish mischievousness to come out.
There's been so many things already said about Daniel Day-Lewis's performance that I won't just add any more, vomitive praise upon it. Because there are facts. Water is wet, the sun is hot, and Daniel Day-Lewis in this film is great.
It was one goddamn hell of a show.
Among the book's worth of words and sentiments said about this film, one particular minuscule line from its director really stood out to me. I had a sneaking suspicion there was a deliberate intention behind making this man as menacing and dark as he is. There have been times where I've imagined Daniel Plainview in a horror movie, and it scares the shit out of me. From his look to his speech, his aura is as thick as the oil he drills. And splice that with the haunting score from Johnny Greenwood, and I guess it's not all that hard to imagine. We could spend hours unraveling the layered onion that is this character, but in this short video, I'd hope to divulge a fresh, or at least my perspective, on who I like to call the vampire from Fond du Lac. Let's start this analysis from the beginning, shall we? A shadowy figure surrounded in darkness opens our film. The imagery of a lonely man in the dim depths of a hole in the ground. Immediately, we are presented with an entity who enjoys the solitude of night. A great hunger drives him in search of promised riches, but is he deserving of them? A test presents itself in the form of a struggle. The lowly prospector going about his routine strikes, well, silver. But life chooses this moment to evaluate his character, in the form of crippling him alone in a ditch to die. When forced to look death in the eye, he rejects him. No! He resurrects himself from the dead, crawls his way out of hell, claims his riches, and immortalizes himself as the unstoppable force of nature that is Daniel Plainview. I personally see this scene as Daniel's turning, his evolution from human to vampire. But in this case, his bite mark appears to come in the form of another physical deformity, his broken leg. Plainview's limping is a constant reminder to us throughout the film of this moment. It's his bedrock, his foundation for who he is today. There's a reason PTA decided to start Daniel's story with this. This moment of reckoning also ties in with the perpetual silence of the first 15 minutes of the movie. Not only is it a masterclass of cinematic storytelling, show, don't tell, it's a perfect exemplification of how the capitalist American system works. When you're a middle or lower class individual, your voice isn't heard, your words don't carry weight. Only once you start getting a little money in your pocket do you actually become a player in the game. When we meet Plainview, his position in society is utterly mute. We get just a whisper from him as he finds silver. But the oil tycoon is only truly spoken into existence after his first successful well produces that sweet, sweet sludge. And oh, is he spoken.
I do my own drilling. And the men that work for me, and they are men I know. I make it my business to be there and to see their work. I don't lose my tools in the hole and spend months fishing for them. I don't botch the cementing off and let water in the hole and ruin the whole lease. I'm a family man.
Daniel Plainview's voice is a thunderous force, commanding attention with its gravelly intensity and unwavering authority. Knowing it would be his character's greatest strength, Day-Lewis cultivated one of the most iconic voices in cinema history.
Say it louder!
I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my child! I've abandoned my boy!
Plainview wields his voice like a weapon, employing blatant lies disguised as plain speaking to manipulate and charm those around him. His ability to spin tales, whether about his fake son or his intentions, serves as a tool to gain trust and advantage. Attempts to put words in his mouth or challenge him, like Eli or Standard Oil do, are swiftly shut down, emphasizing his dominance in both words and actions. As an oilman, he understands the necessity of showmanship and persuasion, donning a charming facade to exploit others for profit. His silver tongue, used to weave webs of deceit, ultimately becomes his silver stake to the heart.
I thank God I have none of you in me.
Plainview sees humanity as mere prey, despising them yet relying on their trust to thrive, much like a vampire's reliance on humans for sustenance. Through lies and persuasion, he preys upon the vulnerability of others. I'll say it again, but the deceit, individualism, showmanship, and exploitative nature of this character serve as a blunt portrayal of the dark side of capitalism. Like most vampires, Plainview has this innate thirst that delves far beyond the surface desire to sink his teeth into the earth for its oil. This insatiable craving for wealth and competition courses through his veins, propelling him forward with an almost instinctual drive. As Day-Lewis himself acknowledges, this thirst is primal, woven into the very fabric of his being.
It's primal. It's primal.
You're born with it or not?
I think so. I mean, I think Daniel's experiences before we meet him certainly might have sharpened the edge of his ambition, but yeah, I think that competition is something it's in his origins. Yeah.
It's not merely about accumulating swelling wealth, but about the thrill of the chase, the need to consume more, to outdo, to conquer, to be the apex predator. The presence of formidable adversaries only fuels his hunger, for it's in the face of challenge that he truly comes alive. Winning is secondary. It's the fear of losing that drives him, pushing him to commit even the most heinous of acts. Plainview's thirst transcends mere material gain. It's a raw, elemental force that defines him, shaping his every action and decision with a relentless intensity. But then again, it is Plainview's negative moral qualities that make him such a successful businessman. Maybe there's a message in there somewhere that a person has to lose their humanity to gain prosperity in this country. Much like a vampire must sacrifice his humanity to continue to survive. And just as a vampire may want human connection, their very nature stops them from achieving it. Daniel does pursue that connection in people like HW and Henry, but his nature of competitiveness and greed ultimately are his downfall. He's a nocturnal figure, cloaked in oil, watching his derrick come alive in the darkness. The emergence of liquid gold seems to replace HW in his affections, akin to a true second-born child. And just to reference another great one-shot, the moment he chases HW down for the fire he starts is fucking terrifying. When talking to Henry, Daniel says,
Well, if it's in me, it's in you.
He sees a fellow bloodsucker in his half-brother, an imposter obviously, but his guard is lowered by alcohol and the anguish of his son's deafness. He goes on to say,
I can't keep doing this on my own. With these, people.
Daniel's pause before saying people is very indicative of his separation from humanity. When I see him do that devilish laugh and the flickering light hits his sharpened canines, it paints the perfect picture for Daniel the Vampire Plainview. In Henry's final words, we find a stark lesson on the ruthlessness of capitalism.
I'm not trying to hurt you. Never. Just survive.
It's a harsh reminder of the lengths people would go in order to stay afloat, especially men like Henry, chasing wealth wherever it may be found. In this cutthroat world of dog eat dog, every man for themselves, survival becomes paramount, creating a landscape where dreams of success are often dashed. Henry represents one extreme, while Daniel stands as an apex predator at the other. Unable to accept being outplayed by someone like Henry, Daniel seeks the ultimate victory, his life. And we must talk about the baptism scene, we must. An absolute masterclass in thematic depth. The tension between rivals is at its peak, exposing Daniel's true blood-sucking nature as he mockingly asks,
"Give me the blood, Lord, and let me get away!"
His amusement at the religious ritual underscores the film's critique of American religious exploitation. And to serenade the newly baptized, a wonderful hymn plays to remind us of why Daniel and Eli do what they do.
There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Mercury will the victory win. There's wonderful power in the blood.
Blood, of course, being a double entendre for oil and the blood of Christ. And we also see Daniel say something to Eli, which is theorized to be, "I'm going to eat you." As in the final scene he says,
"I told you I would eat you!
We're family!
I told you I would eat you up!
We're brothers! We're brothers!"
His middle name might as well be Nosferatu, because the similarities continue. His nemesis sees himself as a man of God, a storied rival to the vampire, of course, with the cross as his weapon. He eats in such a visceral manner, sifting through it with his front teeth to remove bones or cartilage like a wildebeest.
All you can do is suck the blood out of a piece of steak and spit out the gristle.
He even ends up living alone in a grand castle reminiscent of Dracula's abode in Transylvania. He's a man who doesn't change one bit throughout his life. He hardly even ages for the most part. He's immortal and unchanging in his ideology, and it's ultimately his demise. It's what happens when you don't change. Aside from my potentially far-fetched take on this succubus, I think Day-Lewis said it best.
It seemed an entirely honest examination of a life to me.
What would happen if the impulses repressed by our socialism took the wheel? The hateful, treacherous, and otherwise murderous thoughts and actions that run through our being in life? The primitive actions we've learned to supersede. Plainview is a product of a harsh, gritty, and competitive environment.
I drink your water. I drink it up. Every day, I drink the blood of lamb from Bandish Tract. You can sit down again.
Thanks for making it to the end. I hope you enjoyed this lengthy extrapolation of a tiny comment. I've got 10 other videos edited and produced and many more coming your way. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I say I'm a content creator, you'll agree. So, if you please, hit that like and subscribe, and as always, appreciate you watching.